Hi, welcome to Mel's Health. I'm Mel, it's lovely to have you here. So today I'm going to be following directly on from my previous video where I explained all things related to thrombosis embolisms. No science lesson today though, I'm just going to be giving you some more personal content, just me telling you my initial story of when I was diagnosed with submassive pulmonary embolism. It's funny, I actually have planned to film this video for a while and I had today kind of lined up in my head because I have the whole apartment to myself, thought it'd be nice and quiet. And then for the last couple of days I've just not been in the best mood at all, like still having the same kind of pain and aches and stuff. And I thought, I really just can't be bothered with it, but I really do want to keep getting the content out there and I want people to kind of see what it is really like to go through this on a day-to-day basis. So I'm trying to persevere and I want to be able to tell you guys the story of the first day when I got diagnosed, but I'm probably not going to be as perky as I was in my other videos. I've also decided to split my story into a two-part video because looking at all the different aspects that go into it and kind of explaining a bit of a backstory as well, I think it would work better if it was just split into two. So this video today is going to be me outlining a bit of background and then what happened up to me going to hospital. And then the second part, which I will release in quick succession, I hope, will be the first couple of days that I was actually in hospital getting more scans, a bigger diagnosis, and looking at the different factors that went into what could be the possible cause behind the clots as well. So the beginning of the story is back in April 2020. For us here in BC, Canada, we were in lockdown at that point. It was the first wave that started in the middle of March. Everything non-essential had closed, the ski resorts and anything to do with dine-in restaurants, much like everyone's experienced wherever you are in the world. The brewery that I worked for, that I've mentioned previously, we were able to stay open for retail. So I was still working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, doing all the usual stuff, standing on my feet the whole time, having to lift heavy flats and kegs of beer. I was still trying to get out and pedal where I could and try and be active. Luckily I live in the outdoor capital, so there's quite a bit to do, especially when the weather's nice. So then when you get to the end of April, it's the 26th of April, that leads into the story that I've told in both my other videos where I had to present to the ER for the first time. I was having pain in my right hand side, like tight chest and top of my shoulder blade. Every time I lied down to try and go to sleep, it was too painful. I couldn't do any sharp intakes of breath, like if I was trying to cough or sneeze, they wouldn't come through because it hurt too much. I couldn't bend forward and lift anything heavy. And after about 3 days of it being solidly like that and no painkillers really making any difference, I presented to the ER. Had to call up before they would let me inside because of the pandemic. It was all a very different experience to usual. But when I got there, the doctor came and had a chat with me, just sort of asked me a few questions about what the previous few days had been like, what I was feeling, got his stethoscope, had a little listen on my back, and came to the conclusion that I had intercostal myalgia. So I've briefly explained this in my previous videos, but your intercostal muscles are like between your ribs and they help support the upper body and they are part of the mechanism used for breathing. So the doctor believed that I had strain in these muscles in this area and that's why it was painful to take deep breaths. So he was telling me that I need to just rest more, take painkillers and stretch through it, like breathe through the pain because it wouldn't be detrimental to me. It felt like a tight muscle in my back that wouldn't release. But it got to the point where it was manageable. So I wasn't going to go and back to present to the hospital in the middle of a pandemic for just the same thing to happen again. When you look back on it, I don't think I had intercostal myalgia at all. Exactly 1 month on from that initial day that I presented at the ER, if you remember it was the 26th of April, on the 26th of May, the main story unfolds. So it's a nice afternoon and my fiance Guy and I, we decide we're going to go on a bike ride. So we get out of the truck at the bottom of the trail and I remember Guy just turned around and looked at me when we were getting the bikes off the back of the truck and he was just like, "You don't look very excited, Mel." And I just remember turning around and being just like, I'm just worried about the climb. I was like, it's just going to be horrendous. It's quite interesting looking back on little conversations like that around the time after learning a lot of new medical things over the last few months. I watched a video that a girl made who had a very, very similar experience to me. She was also 32 years old and her PE happened in May of the same year. But she talked about in her video studies around impending doom. And it's quite interesting reading some studies that the medical professionals have done into this feeling of impending doom. And for those of you that don't know what impending doom is, it's the sinking feeling you get before something happens. If you go on Healthline, they say that in many cases a sense of impending doom comes before a rather serious medical event like heart attacks, blood clots, seizures, poisoning. A feeling of impending doom can often be a sign of imminent medical events or crisis. So it's really easy in hindsight to say I was feeling a real sense of dread this day and I was not confident about getting up this climb, but it just makes you wonder whether my body was just screaming at me from the inside, being like, we just subconsciously knew that I wasn't going to have a great time that day. I'd be interested to know if anyone else watching this video has ever had anything like that before, anything bad happening. If you have, let me know in the comments. I'd really, really like to hear about it. But anyway, so we start on the bike ride as we would any other day. It's a really mellow trail that we're climbing up to get anywhere. Locally, it's known as the Mashta. So it's a very gradual, it's very open uphill climb. I actually found an old photo of me on a piece of it, so you can see how open it is. Going up it, I was more breathless than usual. If you watched any of my other videos, you'll see that I always refer to the fact that I was not cardio fit at all. Like, I am not a fit person. But this time I was having to stop a hell of a lot more and I was definitely feeling more fatigued. But all of a sudden there is a flash and I jump off my bike. It was just like a huge heart palpitation and I'm just like crouched down thinking, am I going to throw up? Am I going to pass out? Because I've never passed out before. I was like, I'm lightheaded and I'm tingly and I was really hot. And then immediately after that I was actually a little bit chilly. But yeah, I was just there thinking, right, I'll just stay crouched down and just breathe through it. I'm probably just going to be sick or something. I'm ridiculously unfit right now. What is this? And then I started to get a real bad pain in my left shoulder blade. So I was like, it felt like a really tight muscle that wouldn't release. Again, it's this common theme. And I wasn't able to properly catch my breath at all. I was just, I looked at Guy and I was like, I'm not okay. I just stood there like, what is going on with me? I wasn't panicking at this point or anything. I was just highly perplexed about what on earth could be going on. I think we both knew at that point that the day was done. Like, I said to Guy, I was like, I can't go any further. I actually told him to carry on with it and have a nice day because I didn't want him to miss out on bike riding. But from his outside point of view, he's obviously looking at me like, what on earth? And we need to get down. So that's what we decided to do. And from there, it's pretty much all downhill back to the truck, apart from one little dip in the road. So we turn around to go downhill and I can't even do that. I get to a point where I have to stop at another pull-out because even going downhill and holding onto the bike, I was getting far too out of breath and too lightheaded. I was like, I can't just hold on anymore. I was at that point where you have to rest. And then when we got to the dip in the road, I obviously didn't make it up the other side and I couldn't walk and push my bike at the same time. It was far too much energy for me. Guy came back, got me, took the bike off me, and then I've realised that something really wasn't right when I couldn't even walk my own way up the hill. Like, trying to go up an incline, I just got to the top and straight away back down on the ground, crouched down, sat on the floor trying to catch my breath. So I stand there for a few minutes, still wondering what on earth is going on, but from there it is absolutely nothing but downhill all the way back to the truck. So we've made it down, got back to the truck, Guy is driving me home. There's about 10 minutes or so in the car where I'm still not breathing right. Get to the apartment and first thing I do is just like straight jammies on, lay on the sofa, see if I can calm down because nothing seems to be getting any better. So then we talk at this point, we're like, I think I need to be seen by a medical professional. And then due to what happened when I went to the ER in April, I was like, Guy, you're going to have to call the hospital first. And they obviously agreed. They were like, yeah, it sounds like she needs to be seen, but she's going to have to self-present. So there was no way that I was going to be able to like full on get myself to the hospital. Even when I stood up, to just put some shoes on to get out the front door, like that motion was too much. I was again crouched down, and then Guy basically kind of carried me the rest of the way. So Guy walks me to the front of the ER, and then I do a bit of a switch. He leaves, and then I'm taken through by the nurse, who I then explain everything I've just told the story about so far with the bike ride to her, and what's brought me here. And then I also mentioned my visit in April as well, and tell them all about that and the pains I was having on my right side, in case it was related. Pretty sure it was. But I'm straight into a gown. They're doing my temperature, my oxygen, my blood pressure. They take me straight through for a chest x-ray, and I had to be wheelchaired back from that. I was literally like hanging on the machine that they make you like take a chest x-ray off, because holding my own weight up wasn't happening at that point. I get back to the room, and then it's like urine samples, COVID test. They start hooking me up. They're putting the sticky pads all over me, the little electrodes, so they can do an ECG and monitor me that way. So in my local hospital, I've definitely mentioned this before, but it's a smaller unit, and they don't have lots of equipment there. They especially don't have like CT scanners and things like that. Pretty much just X-ray and ultrasound. So the doctor walks in after about an hour, and the first thing she just says is that I was going to have to go via ambulance transfer to the city because I need a CT scan. And she said, you need that because I'm pretty sure, looking at your chest x-ray, that you've got blood clot in your lungs and you've got pneumonia. So again, I'm just like standing there in absolute, well, I'm not standing there, I'm laying there in absolute shock. I've had pneumonia once when I was 9, and I was in hospital for a week, and I remember it being quite painful. So I was like, great, I know what that is, and I know how serious that can be. And then a blood clot on the lung, I was like, what the hell does that mean? And then she goes, right, before we send you off, I'm going to come back with some blood thinners, and I'm going to put you on antibiotics as well for the pneumonia. She's like, but it's likely that you won't be going home tonight, so you probably need to update whoever's waiting outside for you, because they won't be able to come with you. Off she goes. That was it. Just turns around, out the room, leaves me with that, and I was just obviously instantly upset. It was just like, oh my God, tears flowing down my face. A cool guy who's just been sat outside for the last God knows how long. It's been probably been like almost 2 hours at this point, and tell him everything that I was just told. And that was that. I was like, well, I'm not going to be coming home tonight, and you're not allowed to come with me, which sucks. So that brings us up to the point where me being in the local hospital comes to an end, and I'm getting ready to go to the city for the scans and more of a diagnosis. I'll follow that completely up in the next video in more detail and let you guys know what happened when I got to the city. As always, I thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really does help my channel out, being very new, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye.